Hi everyone, this is the first of a few recipes that I'm going to be showing you to cook at home during lockdown. A few simple dishes that you can easily replicate at home. All the produce here, everything that we're using, readily available at the supermarket. So if you've got kids, they're going to love this one. We're making a fresh chocolate brownie, a million times better than anything you can get in the shops. We've got 135 grams of dark chocolate. This is a 54%, so not really bitter like the 70%. I wouldn't recommend using the 70% in this, especially if you've got children eating it. It's just a bit too bitter. If you can't get a 54% or something near that, then do a mixture of 70% and milk chocolate, but use a cooking milk chocolate. Don't use dairy milk or anything like that. Use cooking chocolates. So we've got the 54% melting here over a little bain-marie, a little bowl of water on the heat. And then in here we've got 100 grams of butter, 135 grams of soft dark brown sugar. I'm going to put that onto the. I'm going to put it in the mixer. You can do it by hand. Get your butter soft. Get a wooden spoon in there. Keep beating it. I'm actually going to use a whisk in this. I would normally use the K beater, but there's just not enough in there to really kind of work around the bottom. So use a wooden spoon or put it in the KitchenAid. And keep spooning the sides down. So as it's mixing, when the butter and the sugar starts coming together, we are going to use a rubber maurice, spoon the sides down, making sure we get it all mixed in together. We've got 22 grams of self-raising flour, and we've got 75 grams of whole egg. So as you can see, crack one egg in there and mix one in another dish so that I could pour in and get the exact quantities. We're not going to guess and try and put half an egg. And a little treat, we're going to put a little quarter stick of vanilla in there. So rather than cut the whole thing, I'm just going to cut a quarter from the top. The rest I can put back in my pot, keep them in the fridge. And then we cut down the centre of the vanilla pod, and then using the knife, I would use a paring knife for this. Then we're going to take that vanilla bean and put it into our butter and sugar. We can keep the actual vanilla bean. We can keep that, and what I like to do is put it into a little box of sugar. Caster sugar, stuff that you're using in baking if you're going to make a pastry. Whatever you're making with it, you're going to get that little infusion of vanilla through there. So chocolate's melting over water. We don't want the water boiling, and you don't want the bowl touching the boiling water either, so that way it can get too hot and actually cook the chocolate. It'll burn it, and that would be no good. So just a medium heat, just enough to melt the chocolate. So chocolate's melted. I'm just going to let that sit on the side. So I've got my pre-lined dish. What I've done with this, I've rubbed it with a little bit of butter, lined it with parchment, and then using a scissors, cut down into each corner so that we can fold over the paper, and then there's less creases around the outside of it. It doesn't matter if a little bit of the mixture is going to touch the china dish, because when it's cold it'll come straight out. So dish is lined ready. Got the oven on 150 degrees, and we're going to cook it for about 30 to 40 minutes. You can double up this recipe and make a bigger brownie You know, make it to however many you're cooking. I think this is a nice little recipe just to make a small sort of 4 to 6 portions of brownie. It's very rich, it's a really rich recipe, so less is more with this, I think. So I've taken the brown sugar and butter, taken it from the machine now. You can see it's kind of whipped together a little bit. We're going to do the rest of it by hand because there's not quite enough in the bowl to actually cream properly and work itself around the outside. So spoon all the edges down and using a whisk, just going to keep mixing that sugar and butter together. And then bit by bit we're going to add the egg and incorporate it bit by bit, whisking it in. You can see it's getting lighter in colour, softer. So put about half of the egg in now. Whipping it in. You can use a wooden spoon. Nice and light. And put the rest of the egg in there. And give it a final mix. Check the oven temperature. Yep, oven is ready. So it's set at 150. That's a fan assisted oven, so if you have a non-fan assisted or an Arga, you know, the cooking times can vary slightly. So butter, sugar, egg, all whipped together, nice and light, nice and fluffy. Just tap the whisk against the edge of the bowl, try and make sure you haven't got any mix left on there. If you've got mix left on the whisk, then your recipe's going to be short of butter and sugar, so try and get as much off as you can. And now the next part, we're going to incorporate the chocolate and then fold in the flour and the chocolate chips last. So all our chocolate's going to go in. That's the 135 grams of 54%. So it's not too bitter. Like I said, if you can only find 70% cooking chocolate in the shops, then you know you can always mix it with milk chocolate or even white chocolate so that it's not too bitter for the children. So mix the butter in, mix the chocolate in with the butter and sugar. It's nicely mixed, nice and smooth. And then we're going to fold in our self-raising flour and our chocolate chips. What I would do as well, one thing to think about is that chocolate. It was literally one of the first things I did, so that by the time your butter and sugar mix is ready, your chocolate's cooled down slightly, so it doesn't just melt the butter and sugar and all the chocolate chips, because we want those chocolate chips to remain whole pieces, so that when it cooks and you break through it, cut through the brownie, you've got the little pistils of chocolate through the centre of it as well. So it's not just cake, you've got the chocolate chips running through there that they don't cook and incorporate into the mix, they stay there, they melt within the mix. Make sure we use a spoon, scrape off your spatula, get all that mix in there. And then we're just going to transfer to the oven. Now this recipe also has a little pinch of salt in there. I've omitted the salt, I've kept that out because when we plate it up, I'm going to plate it up and drizzle it with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and a few grains of salt along with some ice cream. So I love mine with a little bit of olive oil and flaked Malden sea salt on the top, a little drizzle of olive oil and some ice cream. So there, spoon it into our dish and give the bowl and the spatulas to the kids for them to lick that clean. That's gone straight in the oven. And we're setting a 30-minute timer. 30 minutes. See you in a bit. So, back again. Here we have the brownie, just come out of the oven. That's 30 minutes. Now if you were making a bigger recipe, then it will need a little bit longer. If I was doubling that up, I'd probably cook it 35 to 40 minutes. But that is done. Now I'm going to leave it out on the work surface, on the kitchen top to cool down slowly. It is best eaten at room temperature. You can store it in the fridge, so once you've already cut some and any leftovers, put it in the fridge. But if you're going to fridge it, then I would recommend just popping it in the microwave for 10 seconds before you serve it. I like doing that anyway, just nice and warm and gooey and real rich and chocolatey, and have a nice ball of ice cream with it. 10 seconds in the microwave and it's pretty good. So, brownie is cooked, chilled. We're going to turn that out. We have buttered the bottom of it, so it can stick a little bit. All you have to do is just drop the dish, not literally drop it, hold it in a bowl of warm water just so that the butter melts a little bit around the outside, and then you can pull it straight out. But mine came out straight away. So we're not going to trim it up, square it up. We're not serving it in a restaurant. I don't want any wastage, especially at home, and certainly not during these times. So you can see the little chips, white chocolate, milk chocolate through the middle. And then I've got some extra virgin oil, which I'm just going to literally give it a little drizzle. A couple of grains of Malden sea salt. And not forgetting our ice cream. So you've got vanilla ice cream, just a nice little spoon of ice cream on the top, and that's it. And there we have it, chocolate brownie, vanilla ice cream, a little bit of extra virgin oil and some Malden sea salt. Hope you enjoy, guys.